Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second webinar in the Wisconsin Farm to School and Farm to Early Care and Education webinar series. We are very excited to have you all with us today for this short webinar about connecting with local farmers. We are really excited to have some special guests here talking with us, and we are going to try our new webinar format, which is a very brief webinar, which will then be archived for folks to visit in the future. So we'll just go ahead and get things started.
I need to listen to this.
So for our overview today, we are just going to welcome you all and share some resources about how farmers can be a part of Farm to School and Farm to Early Care, how to find local farmers to work with, and some resources for working with farmers. And then we are going to have about 15 minutes where we get some very wise farmer advice from different growers across the state who produce and grow different products about what it's like to work with farmers, and from their perspective, what you all should keep in mind when contacting growers for local foods and also for educational experiences. Then we'll have a brief summary as well as a Q&A session. So in terms of the Q&A, we're hoping that you can type any questions that you have into the chat box as we go along, and then we will address those questions at the end of our time together today. And we would like to start with a poll question to engage everybody. So you can practice using your chat box right now, but let us know, what is your one biggest question about connecting with local farmers? And we will do our best to address these questions throughout the webinar today or at the Q&A period at the end. So go ahead, feel free to use that chat box, enter your questions now, and we'll try and get to them through our time together today. Also, we would like to introduce you briefly to our farmer guest presenters. We have Julie Larson from Sunray Farmstead Meats, who will be talking about the importance of Farm to School and Farm to ECE for their farm. John Stanner from James Lake Farm will be talking a bit about on-farm education and ways that you can work and learn with farmers other than just by buying local products. And Lauren Rudersdorf from Raleigh's Hillside Farm is going to be talking about the schedule for fruit and vegetable growers and what you should be thinking about now when you want to be buying local foods throughout the year. So these are the great super sage farmers we're going to be hearing about and hearing from today. So what can farmer engagement look like in Wisconsin Farm to School and Farm to Early Care? Often the first thing that comes to mind is purchasing local foods, whether it's for your school meal programs like school lunches, school breakfast, or snacks, or in the early care environment for any of the meals or snacks that you are serving throughout the day. But farmer engagement can be much richer than that too. It can be a field trip to a local farm or to a farmer's market to visit farmers and see how food grows, or to see what their farmer's market looks like. It can also be visits to the school or the early care site from a farmer to do anything from have a presentation in the auditorium to reading books to children or students in the classroom. Farmers are also valuable for helping to connect to other growers, just like you have networks as educators and food service directors. Growers have networks with each other and others within the food supply chain. And then farmer engagement can look like many other things. So if there's any special needs you have when it comes to connecting with local food growers, you can just ask and let us know, and you can use that chat box right now as well. So where do I find farmers? And this is a question that we hear on a regular basis. There's a lot of different ways to find your local farmers, and we've highlighted just a few here, and we'll be sending the slide deck out with clickable links so you don't have to worry about scribbling down these names. The Wisconsin Farm Fresh Atlas and the Fair Share CSA Farm List are really great places to look if you're looking for farms that can direct market, if you're looking to make a purchase directly from a farm. You can also look up the farmers market and farm stand list, and also the Farm to School Toolkit has some ideas as well. And of course, you always have school gardens where you can be growing your local products right out the school door as well. If you have other ideas about where you are finding your local farmers, you can just put them in the chat box and we'll share those as well. There are also some other places like connecting with your local extension office or county RC&D, finding partners who can help you connect with local growers growing the crops that you are interested in. I am just getting word that we're having a little bit of a delay between the slides and my talking, so we will just be a little bit patient here. So there are a lot of great resources for connecting with your local growers, and we just wanted to highlight a few of them here. There is a Wisconsin Farm to School success story, and it's all about Manitowoc County and ensuring meaningful farmer participation in Farm to School, and it's a great little brief talking about how to get farmers to your school, how to engage them and have meaningful relationships over time. The Chop Shop Culinary Skills video series has a wonderful set of interviews and conversations between food service directors and farmers in each of the 5 videos, and those live online on YouTube and you can view them at any time. The Wisconsin Farm to School Toolkit has been recently updated, but it has lots of great resources for connecting with growers and building those relationships with growers, and it has excellent tools for helping communicate who you are as a school or early care site or as a farmer to the other person in the relationship so that you can start buying and selling products in a way that's meaningful to each other. And then there's a wonderful series of farm to early care handouts that you can see through this link that are great resources for learning about how to find farmers and purchase local foods if you are a part of the early care environment. So we just wanted to give a real quick rundown of places that you can find local farmers and also some good resources to give a foundation in what it's like for working with local farmers. But now we want to get to the good stuff and let our partners share some of their thoughts with you, because there's nothing like hearing it directly from the grower. So we're going to hand it over to Julie Larson from Sunray Farmstead Meats. She is going to introduce herself and talk a bit about why Farm to School is important to their farm.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Julie, and my husband and I, Paul and I, farm here at Sunray Dairy in La Crosse County. We milk Jersey cows, excuse me, and our primary product for sale is raw milk to our cheese plant. Jersey produce high protein, high fat, quality milk, and we just love working with them. Some of the old timers in the business know that Jersey meat has a very nice taste, and what we do is we keep our bull calves, we raise them as steers, and we produce prime cuts of beef as well as burger, and the burger is packed either in pound packages or in 10-pound chubs. And the burger, the animals, let's say, are raised without hormones that promote growth, without any antibiotics to promote growth. And in fact, they are raised on a primarily forage-based ration. So that would be grasses and alfalfa and corn silage. A little bit of corn in the winter to keep them up to snuff on their energy demands for the cold weather. But they are not corn finished. And you will see then that along with the Jersey breed of meat taste as well as that ration, that meat tastes good. It doesn't taste bland. It's fairly lean. And when it comes to cooking experience, the experience of having to deal with a lot of grease in the pan, that isn't an issue. Burger is 87 to 88% lean. Taste is excellent. Consistency is there every delivery. And Farm to School is important to us because it's increased our market. One of our bylines is buy local, know your farmer. But selling this beef also allows us to know our consumer. And we sell to several school districts, and we sell early childhood education. And the districts will report that their school lunch participation has risen because the kids like the taste of the meals that are prepared with our beef. Also at the school, sometimes we'll sell pound packages of burger or other cuts of meat to staff or to families. So that increases our sales, but it also increases the availability of our product to the folks that are associated with those given schools. And it can be used as a fundraiser for some of the school groups, whether it's FFA or another group, maybe even a fundraiser for feeding the kids that don't have adequate funds in their families. And we know that school lunch programs deal with that on a routine basis. So you can depend on the consistent quality. You know, your farmer, we are transparent in terms of how we raise our animals. We are very open to bringing a couple of animals and demonstrations to school or welcoming groups of kids to our farm. The major product is burgers that goes to schools, but some schools buy stew meat also, and other schools buy sirloin steaks cut in 4-ounce portions, and they use maybe to treat their kids to the preseason dinner or otherwise. One of the drawbacks of our product in schools is that some schools have so honed in to dealing with pre-cooked products that they don't have the facility to deal with raw beef. But we see that change as people get more and more interested in buying healthy, high quality, and as long as you have a brazier and so forth, you can deal with the meat. It comes frozen. Delivery is available, and generally, I mean, we deliver to everybody, but the delivery can be adjusted according to your needs and your freezer space. And I guess for the advice for school food service staff, when you're setting this relationship up, is to just try it. Give it a try, see if you like it. I think you'll find the quality is great and the pricing is very reasonable. And knowing your farmer, the kids get excited about that, and you can feel comfortable that you're feeding a high quality protein source to your kids. And I think that's what I have to say.
Julie, thank you so much for sharing the farm to school perspective from Sunray Farmstead Meat angle on this. If folks have any questions for Julie, go ahead and put them into the chat box, and we'll do Q&A at the end of our webinar time. Julie, thank you so much for your thoughtful comments.
Thank you. And I guess I made a mistake here. I think one more important thing to add would be that we do have a website, and I'm not sure that's listed in your information. And that is Sunray Dairy, SUNRYDAIRY, that's all one word, .com. And there's information there about our beef. For more information about farm to school, just use the telephone number that you've posted and contact information on that website.
Perfect, Julie. And we'll be sending everybody's contact information, including websites, out to participants with these slides after the call. We are going to hand it over now to John. We're excited for John to join us today because he's a cranberry grower and also because of the opportunities for education that he offers to schools. So John, we'll hand it over to you to take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Vanessa, and good morning, everyone. James Lake Farms is a family-owned and family-run organic cranberry marsh. We're located in northern Wisconsin, up here in Three Lakes, which is in Oneida County. We've been growing organic cranberries since 2007, and we're transitioning another marsh this year, and we'll have 189 acres of cranberry vines that we'll be harvesting. We do both fresh fruit, which you would buy in the produce section, and we do frozen fruit as well. One of the things that we do in order to reach out to groups and to schools are tours. We have a free public tour every Saturday during our harvest season, which is in October. We also do tours that are arranged at various times during our harvest season, and these can be school groups, these are scout groups, camp groups, 4-H, master gardeners, a wide variety of people that actually come in. Typically, our tours are 3 different components. We do a very short presentation about of the marsh and the cranberry industry in general. And then we go out into the field and we actually see what's going on the harvest operations in the field. And finally, wrap up with the packing house and actually see fruit being cleaned and sorted and packaged on the line. These tours are adapted to the audience. If we have a group of second graders, it's a little bit different tour than if we're having the master gardeners come out, for example. So I guess the question I'd like to try to answer for us is why tours? Why are we doing this? And I think it really gets back to one of our core values, and that's connecting with the end consumer. We identified very early on that it was critical for us to be successful that we made a connection. We get our message out, and we do this through a couple of different venues. We have a Facebook page. We're on localharvest.org, but the tours are very critical to getting people out on the farm and actually seeing what's going on out here. Increasingly, what we're seeing is consumers that want that connection. They're not just buying the cranberries or whatever commodity from you. They want to know the story behind how those cranberries are grown and what goes into that and how we manage to grow those cranberries. And that's critical for building that relationship. There definitely is an education gap about agriculture that exists. We young that came up in Madison last October and never been on a cranberry marsh, and the kids were fairly young and they were excited to be on a farm and learn about what happens up here in northern Wisconsin. They stayed after the tour and we talked for an hour. They took some cranberries back with them to Madison, and they were so excited about that. A bunch of their friends together, and they ordered another 100 pounds of cranberries, and will be calling us again this year. It's the other component that really falls into the tour. It's really enjoyable to do this. Harvest for us is a really busy season, and when you can and just kind of step back from it and recognize the bigger picture and do a tour and talk about what you're doing, it's a very enjoyable process as well. I guess some advice, some tips that I would offer for setting up a tour with a farm group. Recognize that each farm is unique. They're unique in terms of when the activity is going to happen. If you're going out to see a harvest, for example, different commodities are harvested at different times of the year. We're fortunate in the fact that our harvest happens during the fall when school is in session, and it's a very good time of the year to come out if the weather is good. Harvest for us is a very busy season, so we ask for flexibility with our tour groups when we set them up. Because we're doing a lot of different things during our harvest season, we ask for understanding if something happens that we may have to not go out into the field or do something a little bit different. But we are very flexible in that regard. It's also highly weather dependent because a good chunk of it is we want to get out into the field. Last October was fairly horrendous in terms of the Saturday weathers that we had were usually rain or snow, and it was a challenge last year. Lastly, what I would recommend is when setting up a tour with a farm, look for multiple ways to integrate what they're doing on the farm into different parts of the curriculum. Talking about agriculture, talking about natural resources, science and history. Those are all points in a curriculum that can be incorporated into what's happening on the farm and learning lessons from that. So I think there's many aspects that the story about what's happening can be integrated into what's happening at the school and what's talking about in the coursework. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
John, thank you so much. And it's wonderful to hear your perspective. And it's always great to hear from farmers about why they really value getting eaters and consumers out to the farm. So thank you for sharing that information. We are going to pass it over now to Lauren Rudersdorf from Raleigh's Hillside Farm. She is our vegetable grower in the Roundup today, and she's going to talk about primarily how they plan out their season and why and when it's important to get in touch with vegetable growers. So Lauren, take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren Rittersdorf. I am half of Raleigh's Hillside Farm. I own the business with my husband, Kyle. We are just entering our 6th season of production. We grow primarily vegetables, organic certified vegetables for CSA and restaurant sales. We're looking to get into the farm to school kind of structure for our business, but haven't really had the confidence under our belt to pursue this because we're still learning. We're feeling a little more confident, but we're still figuring that out. But I can talk quite a bit about, relationship building as far as being someone who's buying local products and working with your farmer. We usually are doing that with restaurants and chefs, but it really will look similar for your purposes. So we, as vegetable farmers, we have a pretty short growing season. So, we are running hard from May through September and October, really, really in the fields every day, just focused on production. We're trying to make 100% of our income in 6 or 7 months. So that's really, really a busy time for us. So my biggest recommendation is just to work with local farmers in season because that's when you're going to be able to have the best conversations and ask questions and set up systems and talk about needs and what they can grow and all of those things, because that's when a farmer's going to have time to get back to you. The emails that I send out May through October are usually communicating with my CSA farmers, communicating on things that I already know people want to buy, and putting out any fire ads. So it's not May through September to try and build relationships. And so from a production perspective, what we're doing this time of year, we start assessing our field harvest records and our field notes and all of those things every year in November and December. So we're figuring out what did we grow well, what was profitable for us, what do we want to grow more of, how do we want to grow our business. We're kind of doing all that strategic planning. Most farmers are in November and December. And then in January, we're getting to the seed order time. So we're looking at those in the end of the year. We're plugging them into new planting calendars and seeding charts, field plans. We're starting to plot out, how much we need of certain seeds and what we should buy. And, if we do want to sell more carrots, then that might be a local school or early care education provider. So January, I think, is kind of the best. Just out to farms and just say, are there things you're wanting to grow more of, hoping to these 3 things? Do you have some extra space in your fields? We'd really love to have a relationship where we can buy X from you. And then in February, we've got our seeds in, but we're not planting in our greenhouse until March, and we're not planting in our fields or our hoop houses until April. So then there's still a lot of time to kind of fine tune those things. So my advice to you all is really to reach out to farmers in the winter as they're looking to, make adjustments to their business. And also it's just a really good time to be able to build relationships. We check in with our chefs usually every December to say, hey, how did things go this past season? And then again in March to say, okay, what are you thinking you want to buy this year? Have you changed your menu? Have you adapted some things, or some things not selling well? You don't really want to get kale anymore because kale isn't hot anymore. You want to get more, arugula or microgreens or something else. And so by having the time to actually sit down or have a phone call or exchange some more in-depth emails about process and what you want and what quantities you're wanting really gives you a chance to develop a relationship at a time when a vegetable producer has the time to be available to you. So I guess, my biggest advice is really just start reaching out to farmers now, and start those conversations, because a lot of us want to work with you. We just don't really know how either. And so you can build the relationship slowly. You don't have to, find a farmer and be getting all of your vegetables from, 1 or 2 providers in a year. It can start small. A lot of our relationships with our restaurants have started really small, and each year we grow a little more. And especially if you haven't done a lot of local sourcing before, as long as you have these opportunities for open communication and meeting with each other, you can really take the time to develop those relationships and grow the business together.
Well, Lauren, thank you so much. I didn't even ask you to say it, but you gave my favorite farm to school advice, which is to start small. And so all of this is wonderful, and we do encourage people to start small. Thank you, Lauren, for all of that great information from the farmer perspective. So we're going to get into the wrap-up portion of the webinar now, and if you have questions for our presenters, now's the time to enter them into the chat box. And I do see that we have a couple of questions in the queue. So some final tips and summary from today. Start now. Winter really is the best time to start assessing what your needs are as a food service or early care provider, what you use throughout the year, when you use it, and how you use it. Make a plan for what products you want to use throughout the year and how you want to integrate them, and then you'll be ready to have that conversation with a farmer. Be flexible, stay flexible, and communication is key. I think all of our wonderful farmers today have talked about the value of developing relationships and having open communication as being important to the relationships that you are growing. So this is just a note to USDA Farm to School grant. They are a major funder of the Wisconsin Farm to School and Farm to ECE webinar series. So thank you to the USDA for the opportunity to share resources with our Wisconsin Farm to School and ECE participants. This is the second quarterly Wisconsin Farm to School and Farm to ECE webinar series, and we hope to have another one up for you in the next 3 months. And we want to make sure that everybody knows that they can be a part of the Wisconsin Farm to School and Farm to ECE newsletter. And you can see that through the link on this slide. And I just got a note that you can only still see that. So hopefully we'll slide into Wisconsin Farm to School and ECE USDA webinar slide. So thank you to the USDA for supporting this webinar series. And of course, since we'll be having more webinars in the future, we want to know what topics you want to hear as part of this webinar series. So you can enter those into the chat box as well. And then we are going to jump into the Q&A portion. And this slide has contact information for all of the farmers who are part of the chat today so that you know how to reach out to them. We will be sending all this information to participants through email as well, along with a version of the slides that you can click through so you don't have to scribble all the things down that we just talked about. But let's jump on into the question portion. And I did see some questions through the chat box already. Beth, do you want to ask those questions? Uh-oh, it looks like we can't hear Beth. So I will just go ahead and read the first question that I saw come through from Greg.
Is it for smaller local farmers to sell food service operations for school districts? And I'm going to unmute our 3 farmers and feel free to jump in.
Please repeat the question. I don't think we heard the entire question.
All right. Looks like everybody is on. So again, Julie or Lauren or John, what do you think about what it means for you or for maybe smaller local farmers that you know to sell to school districts? Is it feasible?
If it's feasible?
Yep, that's right, Julie. If it's feasible, or how feasible is it? If you want to share any of your thoughts.
Oh, very feasible. It's a delightful way to sell product for us, and I assume for the others as well. I mentioned that school lunch participation goes up because the kids enjoy the taste of our product much more than what is found on other USDA sourcing. And I think you'll find us very flexible to work with. I mentioned our website before, but pricing for school districts is not on that website. We'd like to meet with you and talk with you very directly about what we have available.
Thanks, Julie. John or Lauren, do you have anything you want to add to that?
This is John. Again, I think I would agree. It's very feasible. It's a good way to establish the connection, with the school district and with kids, and it's just a good way to get your message out as well.
Thanks, John. Go ahead, Lauren.
Yeah, this is Lauren, and I would agree with what both the other farmers said. And I know as far as feasibility goes, it can seem pretty overwhelming, because especially if you're doing local sourcing yet, it might look really different working with local farmers as opposed to working with a food distributor. So that's where I think, if it's possible, having a sit-down meeting just to get to know each other and to understand, what days work for your farmer for deliveries, what quantities are they anticipating, what quantities are you needing, what price points, just kind of hashing out all of those details during the off season, and really, taking some time to learn each other's systems. And you should be open about your process too. When do you like to order? How far in advance? What kind of things are you looking for? What prices do you need to be paying? All those things, I think that makes it a lot more feasible. Again, just starting with those conversations, and again, starting small, I think would be my advice for making it feasible.
That is great advice, and I will add that schools absolutely have the authority to purchase directly from farmers. And Beth and I and our partners at DPI, Department of Public Instruction, are here to help you through that process if you have technical questions about how you get started with the procurement part of purchasing from local farmers. Beth, do you want to have a next question? Oh, I see a note that I'm going to take the questions from here. Jenny asks, how is payment handled between school districts and local producers? So let's open that up to Julie, John, and Lauren. And maybe, Julie, you're the best person to answer that. And the question is, how is payment handled between school districts and local producers?
Oh, I love when those payments come. We invoice the school district directly, and some pay us by check and some pay us by direct deposit.
John or Lauren, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I would say it's just a regular invoice as dealing with any other vendor. It's handled the same way.
Great. And Jenny, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to enter them into the chat box. I see that we have one other question from Meg. And before we get to that, I'd encourage folks on the line to enter any questions you have into the chat box. But Meg says that the Wisconsin Farm Fresh Atlas can be an extremely useful tool. But she says that not a lot of producers in her area are included in it. So she was wondering if there's any tools to promote the Farm Fresh Atlas so more producers sign up. And Meg, that's a really great question. And I think one thing you can do is talk to the producers in your area and encourage them to sign up for the Atlas, or you can share the link to the Atlas with them, or you can also carry copies of the Atlas around and share it with people. And we can also put you in touch with the contacts at the Farm Fresh Atlas in case they have any ideas for helping promote it to other farmers to join as well. And Meg, if you want any additional thoughts on that question, just type them into the chat box. And it looks like that is the end of our questions. And so we will go ahead and wrap up this webinar today. A big, big, big thank you to Julie Larson, John Stanner, and Lauren Rudersdorf for joining us on this webinar with Farmer Perspectives on connecting with farmers for Farm to School and Farm to ECE. We will be sending out a link with a whole bunch of resources, and we do encourage you to follow up with Beth or myself if you have any specific Farm to School or Farm to ECE questions. Thanks all for being a part of the webinar today. Hope you connect with your farmers soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.